been a crazy week for TRB Resistance Broadcast because we've done a couple interviews and stuff, which you can't really talk about the news with your guests. You know, you want to focus on them and what they're doing. So a big story dropped this week, and we didn't want to miss out on it, and we didn't want to delay it 2 weeks. And then you guys would be like, why are you still talking about this? That was 2 weeks ago. So we're kicking off for the first time ever on Nerdy and Nice, a Star Wars story. I didn't mean to do that, but a Star Wars news story, which is this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter specifically, but it was everywhere, which is Ryan Gosling is in talks to star in Sean Levy's movie, which is an exclusive. And then they say, if the deal makes the world send the project into hyperdrive after 2 years of development, it will make the next Star Wars movie to go into production. So that's a big thing here is if Ryan Gosling signs on to the Sean Levy movie, which by the way, isn't episode 10 with Rey or whatever. Sean Levy's doing his own thing, which I have to give you props, John. You've been saying that from the beginning that Sean is not doing that stuff. He's doing his own movie. But we both agreed that he gave up Marvel Avengers to do this Star Wars movie.
Yep.
But if Ryan signs on, it is the next movie that they're making. That's wild. Yeah, they are fast tracking this movie to doing it first, which is in the scheme of things of Lucasfilm and Disney in general, they tend to go with what's hot. And Sean Levy is kind of what's hot right now with Deadpool and Wolverine. John, what are your initial thoughts? You know, I love Ryan Gosling, but what do you think?
I do too. And I think what's great about Ryan Gosling is, you know, he has that palette where, you know, he will do something very dark and noir. And we just talked about Denis Villeneuve, you know, Blade Runner 2049. But then he'll do Barbie, he'll do La La Land, and then he'll hit you with a Nice Guys. And like, that's an underrated, great performance by him. So he's very versatile. I saw, you know, any sort of criticism about this was people saying like, oh, he's, you know, he's too popular. That's like a more of a Marvel thing. I'm like, well, it's, you know, Star Wars has been casting. Yeah. They just got Jude Law in Skeleton Crew, and he was amazing. So I think when you like, it felt like when the Yankees signed like a really good player that you always liked, and it's like, we got him now. You know, he's on our team now. I was so excited. So I think that's great. I think him and Sean Levy would probably work off each other really well. I would imagine it's going to be a movie that has to have some level of humor in it because they're both very good at that. Like doing action type movies that have humor in it. Like I was saying, Nice Guys, Deadpool and Wolverine, stuff like that. So I'm excited about that. The only thing that, and you're right, they did say this is not connected to the Skywalker saga.
They did.
They even said like, the so-called Skywalker saga, like we joke about, like that term came up out of nowhere. But the thing that is just like wild is like we were sitting there in London in 2023, 2 years ago now, which is nuts. And they bring out James Mangold, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, and Dave Filoni, and they're like, here's your next 3 Star Wars directors. He's doing this old Jedi movie. We got the Rey movie, and then we got Filoni's Mandoverse movie. Those are your next 3. And we're like, oh, what happened to Taika? What happened to this person? Like,
Ryan
no, this
Johnson.
is it now. This is the plan. And here we are. Those 3 movies are still out there. They're still being developed. Obviously, Filoni's is going to happen since he's one of the bosses now. You don't cut your kid from the football team. But here we are listening to this saying this is going to be the next movie. So it's leapfrogging those. And this movie hasn't even been announced by Lucasfilm yet.
It has not.
Just so crazy, but in a good way. And it also means that Star Wars Celebration Japan might be bananas in terms of what we learn from there.
This might be the big announcement.
We also have to understand that last celebration, those were the big announcements, and this movie has jumped over those. So things are always changing. We do know Mandalorian and Grogu is in the can. It's in post-production. It's coming out next year. So that's the next Star Wars movie. But it sounds like this one might roll this fall. I know Jeff Snyder had talked about that, as well as these other sources like Deadline and what have you.
It came from Boris Kitt, I think, right?
Boris Kitt of The Hollywood Reporter. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's exciting, but it's also a little like, what's going on with those other movies then? Is the Lando movie happening? Like, what's happening? But it just focusing on this, I mean, you get Ryan Gosling in Star Wars and you get Sean Levy, who just made $1 billion movie. It's showing that Disney's like, we got to stop screwing around. We got to
Hmm.
make Star Wars throw its weight around a little bit again, because I feel like Star Wars has been getting slapped around by public opinion, and you hear about, oh, people don't want to work in Star Wars, and I keep forgetting his name, Damon Lindelof, on the strike lines,
Came and left.
in more words or less said like, yeah, I'm all good,
Then you
they
have
didn't.
Chris Miller and Phil Lord.
Yep.
I didn't
Yeah.
like
So
totally. Yeah.
so I'm excited to hear more about what this is, and I hope that's in Japan. And obviously, everyone else is going to get that news as well around that time, and we'll see what type of picture this is. So hopefully, he signs the contract, and we learn more about that, among other Star Wars things. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. I look forward to the official announcement from Lucasfilm and Disney, but they're very secretive. So they're probably were hoping to lock this in, like you said, for April, for celebration, for that big reveal moment where
Yeah.
Ryan comes out on stage and they're like, "Are introducing our new celebrity." Blah. Um, but yeah, so you brought up some great points about humor. I think he's really good comedically. We saw that in so many different projects, but especially in Barbie, is like one of his most recent ones.
Hmm.
Um, I'm also really hoping that whatever movie Sean Levy is doing with potentially Ryan Gosling is that there's romance. Ryan's very good at romance. He did The Notebook. He's done multiple other rom-com-y type things. And Sean Levy is not shy to doing romantic scenes either. Um, so I hope we get a little of that back into Star Wars. We've gotten the gritty stuff. We've gotten the adventurous, family-friendly kid stuff. Like, give me some romance too. Romance is not a bad thing. That's okay. Our heroes can be in love. Like, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I do want to note though that in this article from the Hollywood Reporter, they do say that this development is quote late in the game, because I guess the filmmaker, as in Sean Levy, has been eyeing to direct a boy band movie at Paramount with Ryan Gosling and Hugh Jackman to star.
Yeah. I'd heard we'd heard about that. Yeah.
I didn't know this. We didn't talk about this.
No, we didn't talk about it, but it's been out. Like, that has been reported.
Well,
Yeah.
that's wild because then I guess Sean Levy was like, "Oh yeah, I'm also doing Star Wars," and then Gosling was like, "Star Wars? What? I'm in." So that's why they're talking about it. But I think the craziest detail, away from even Ryan Gosling, is that they're going to skip light. What was it? Light speed skipping. They're gonna light speed
Yep.
skip
Hmm.
over every other movie and make this one first. That is just insane to me. They also do mention that The Mandalorian and Grogu wrapped mid-December and will release in May 2026. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I hope it
Yeah.
happens. I really do. I am one of those people that's always fighting for like lesser known people to join, like Daisy
Yeah.
Ridley and John Boyega and stuff. But I think this is an instance that I will take Ryan Gosling. And you know what? I want a performance that's so good he could win an Oscar. Like I want
Oh.
amazing. I want that level of respect in Star Wars that people are like, yo, that movie was crazy good. We got it with Top Gun Maverick. It got nominated. We got it with Black Panther. Like, I don't think it's impossible for big budget franchise pop culture type movies to get nominated. We've seen it this year with Wicked. So come on, let's do it with Star Wars.
I
Outside
agree
of
with you.
visual effects and music, which it always seems to come up for that because it makes sense.
I agree with you, and I feel like he has to, like, he's not going to play a villain. Like,
No, he's gonna be the good guy.
because when he plays a villain, it's usually like comedic, and you don't make your Star Wars villains comedic if they're the main villain, and you don't get Ryan Gosling in your movie if he's a side. Like, he's not a Hux. He's gonna be the big name on this movie. I
I
mean,
don't
they may
think
get
he,
other big names too, but he's gonna be a
right.
hero type. We just don't know what type. But the last person to be nominated for an acting Oscar for Star Wars was Alec Guinness for the first movie. He did not win, but we're talking about coming up on 50 years now, so maybe it is time, Lacey. Maybe it is time for a Star Wars actor to get a nomination.
They tried to get Daisy Ridley. They tried to get Mark Hamill for The Last Jedi. They tried numerous times to get these people nominated. It never happened. But
the Academy hates Star Wars.
I feel like it
George
does,
Lucas sort of said, like, F you guys.